The first warning came from someone no one noticed. Not a lawyer. Not a security expert. Not a government official. It came from a young waitress carrying a tray of coffee with trembling hands in one of Berlin's most luxurious hotels. She had only intended to do her job, but a single sentence spoken in German changed everything. A billionaire sitting at the table smiled confidently because he trusted the translator sitting beside him. The waitress froze when she realized the translator wasn't translating the words correctly. What she had overheard was not a business agreement. It was the beginning of a carefully planned betrayal that could destroy a fortune, ruin innocent lives, and possibly end with murder. She had only seconds to decide whether to stay silent or risk everything to save a complete stranger. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, honesty, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes good people still exist, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that remind the world compassion still matters. Ethan Carter had built his empire from almost nothing. At 48 years old, he was considered one of America's youngest self-made billionaires in the renewable energy industry. Newspapers admired his intelligence, business schools analyzed his leadership, and investors trusted every decision he made. Yet few people knew that success had come at the cost of loneliness. His wife had died years earlier after a long illness, leaving him with memories that no amount of wealth could erase. Since then, business had become both his escape and his purpose. When a German technology company invited Ethan to Berlin for what was described as the most important clean energy partnership in Europe, everyone believed it would become another historic success. The deal promised billions of dollars in future investments and access to revolutionary battery technology capable of changing the global energy market. Ethan traveled with his legal team, financial advisors, private security, and a highly respected translator named Victor Lang. Victor had worked with Ethan for nearly 4 years. Fluent in 6 languages, polished, calm, and incredibly professional, he had earned everyone's trust. Ethan rarely questioned a single word Victor translated because he believed loyalty had already been proven over hundreds of successful meetings around the world. Berlin welcomed them with crisp autumn air, elegant streets, and impressive architecture where history and modern innovation existed side by side. The negotiations were scheduled inside one of the city's most prestigious luxury hotels overlooking the River Spree. Politicians, executives, and investors filled the conference halls while expensive suits and polished shoes reflected the wealth gathered under one roof. Working quietly inside the hotel's restaurant was 26-year-old Anna Schneider. Most guests barely noticed her as she served breakfast, refilled coffee cups, and cleaned tables with gentle efficiency. She had worked there for almost 5 years while studying languages at a nearby university during evenings. German was her native language, but she also spoke English fluently thanks to years of study and caring for tourists. Anna's life had never been easy. Her father had died when she was 16, leaving her mother to battle multiple sclerosis alone. Medical bills had forced Anna to postpone her dreams many times. Every euro she earned helped pay for treatments, rent, and groceries. She had learned to smile even when exhausted because kindness often became the only luxury she could afford. That morning she was assigned to the private dining room reserved for Ethan Carter's team and the German executives. Her responsibility was simple: keep the coffee fresh, remain invisible, and interrupt nothing. As negotiations began, Anna noticed something strange almost immediately. The German executives spoke respectfully, discussing technical details, production timelines, environmental standards, and financial protections designed to benefit both companies equally. Yet each time Victor translated into English, his words carried a completely different meaning. He subtly changed numbers, removed important conditions, and exaggerated risks that the Germans had never mentioned. Anna nearly dropped a coffee cup. At first she wondered if she had misunderstood something. But sentence after sentence confirmed her fear. Then came the conversation that made her blood run cold. One German executive quietly turned toward another and whispered in German that everything would be finalized once Ethan signed because our partners have already secured the final payment for Victor. Another executive replied that the accident planned after the signing would erase every remaining problem, allowing someone else to gain complete control of the American company. Victor looked directly at them. He smiled. Then he calmly translated something entirely different. Anna's heart pounded so loudly she feared someone would hear it. She realized the translator wasn't merely making mistakes. He was helping them. She tried convincing herself she should ignore it. She was only a waitress. Wealthy businessmen solved wealthy business problems every day. Nobody would believe someone serving coffee over respected executives and lawyers. Still, every instinct inside her refused to stay silent. Throughout lunch she watched Ethan carefully. Unlike the arrogant billionaires often portrayed in magazines, Ethan thanked every employee who served him. He stood whenever elderly staff approached his table. He smiled warmly at nervous interns. Once he even noticed a dishwasher struggling with a heavy cart and quietly helped move it before returning to his meeting. Anna couldn't understand why someone like him had become the target of such cruelty. The afternoon session continued behind closed doors. Anna kept replaying every dangerous sentence she had heard. If she remained silent and something happened, she would never forgive herself. If she spoke, she could lose her job, face legal consequences, or even become a target herself. As Ethan left the conference room for a brief break, walking alone toward a quiet hotel garden, Anna made her decision. With shaking hands she approached him. Her voice barely worked. She apologized for interrupting and quietly asked if he trusted his translator with his life. Ethan looked surprised. She then said the words that instantly changed everything. "Your translator is lying." For a moment Ethan simply stared. He had heard many strange things during years of business, but never something this serious from a frightened waitress. Anna quickly explained that she understood both German and English perfectly. She carefully repeated several conversations exactly as they had originally been spoken. She described how Victor changed contract terms and revealed the horrifying whisper about secret payments and a planned accident after the agreement. Ethan listened without interrupting. Years of business had taught him one important lesson. Truth often arrived from unexpected people. Instead of dismissing her, he quietly thanked her and promised to verify everything before making any decisions. Without informing Victor, Ethan contacted one trusted security advisor and requested an independent German interpreter from the American embassy. The new interpreter arrived discreetly before the evening meeting. No one except Ethan knew why. The negotiations resumed. Victor confidently continued translating. This time every sentence was checked in real time. Within minutes the deception became obvious. Victor claimed the German executives demanded immediate ownership rights. The independent interpreter quietly confirmed they had actually offered stronger legal protections for Ethan's company. Victor translated that delays would destroy the partnership. The real translation stated both sides should carefully review every document before signing. Ethan remained perfectly calm. He allowed Victor to continue lying. Meanwhile his legal team secretly compared every version of the conversation. Evidence piled up rapidly. Then came the final revelation. One executive once again mentioned Victor's payment in German. Victor translated it as appreciation for future cooperation. The independent interpreter translated every single word exactly. Silence filled the room. Ethan slowly closed the contract folder. Without raising his voice, he thanked everyone for revealing who they truly were. Security officers entered moments later. Victor's face turned completely pale. Several executives attempted to leave but were stopped by German authorities already waiting outside after Ethan's security team had quietly alerted them. Investigators later discovered an international fraud network involving bribery, falsified contracts, corporate espionage, and plans to eliminate anyone standing in their way through staged transportation accidents. Victor had secretly worked against Ethan for almost 2 years. Millions of dollars had already disappeared through manipulated agreements across multiple countries. Had Anna remained silent for even one more day, Ethan might have signed away much of his company before suffering an unfortunate accident during his return trip. News of the arrest spread across Europe within hours. Journalists praised the billionaire's caution. Few initially knew the real hero had been a waitress carrying coffee. Ethan insisted the truth be told. During a press conference he publicly thanked Anna Schneider by name. Reporters were shocked. The young woman standing nervously behind cameras had become the reason an international criminal operation collapsed. The attention overwhelmed Anna. She had never wanted fame. She simply believed that remaining silent would have been wrong. Days later Ethan invited Anna and her mother to dinner. Not as employees. Not as charity. As honored guests. During that evening Ethan learned about Anna's sacrifices, her postponed education, her mother's illness, and the years she had quietly carried responsibilities far beyond her age. He also discovered she had once dreamed of becoming an international interpreter before financial hardship forced her to abandon university. Ethan saw something money could never buy. Integrity. Courage. Compassion. Within weeks he established a scholarship covering the remainder of Anna's education, all living expenses, and advanced language training abroad. He also arranged access to one of Germany's leading neurological treatment programs for her mother. Anna cried harder than she had in years. Not because someone wealthy had helped her, but because someone had finally seen her. Months passed. Anna completed her studies with distinction and eventually joined Ethan's international foundation dedicated to ethical global business practices and educational opportunities for disadvantaged students. Instead of serving coffee during international meetings, she now sat at negotiation tables ensuring every word spoken was translated honestly. Her story inspired companies around the world to strengthen transparency in international agreements. Employees everywhere began understanding that titles did not determine the value of truth. Sometimes the most important voice belonged to the person everyone overlooked. Ethan often reflected on that extraordinary day in Berlin. His billions had nearly failed to protect him. His lawyers had missed the deception. His advisors had trusted appearances. But one exhausted waitress with an honest heart had saved not only his company but countless employees whose futures depended on those decisions. Years later, when journalists asked Ethan about the greatest investment of his life, they expected him to mention technology, renewable energy, or global markets. Instead, he smiled and answered that the greatest investment he had ever made was believing a frightened waitress when everyone else would have ignored her. Anna never considered herself a hero. She simply believed kindness meant protecting another person even when doing so came with personal risk. That belief transformed 2 lives forever. One man discovered that trust should always be earned, never assumed. One young woman discovered that courage can change history. And millions who later heard their story remembered one simple lesson. The world does not become better because powerful people always make the right decisions. It becomes better because ordinary people choose honesty when staying silent would be easier. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, subscribe to Kindness Speaks, and help us spread more stories that remind people goodness still exists. Your support means more than you know. Before you leave, we have one special request. Please write this in the comments: honesty can save a life. We'd love to read your thoughts and hear whether you would have had the courage to do what Anna did. Your comment may inspire someone else to choose integrity when it matters most.